Hey, all you experts out there, this is the Monetize Your Expertise podcast, where we show you how to use your skills to pay the bills. Have you ever wanted to create a business that positions you as the industry leader and go-to expert? Join me every week to hear from amazing leaders and entrepreneurs who have successfully refined their skills in order to become experts and create extremely profitable knowledge businesses. To find all of the links and tools mentioned in this episode, just go to myepodcast.com. I'm your host, Grant Weherley, the online course guy, helping you every week to monetize your expertise. Hey everybody, and welcome to this episode. I'm here with David Anderson, a sales consultant and founder of NitroSalesTeam.com. Thanks for joining me today, David.
Hey, thanks, Grant. Thanks for having me on the show.
I'm really interested in hearing more about what you do, about what your skill set is, and how you got into what your current role is in your business.
Right now, I'm a sales consultant. I work with a lot of internet marketers, digital marketers, and I help them with the sales side of things. More specifically, knowing how to sell, knowing how to do a proper sales call or meeting, increasing someone's revenue, and building their process, right? So whatever it takes to really bring in sales, whatever you're doing with the leads, that's what I'm really passionate about. That's where I can really add value working with another business owner. How I got into this industry, how I got, the role as a sales consultant. Well, for me, I've always had some type of job where I had to sell. Even when I was, as young as 14 years old, when I started my first business, I started a car detailing business because my stepfather was, big into working at a young age. So he basically told me to start going door to door and just knocking on doors and getting clients. I didn't worry about, necessarily the service, the details of washing a car inside and out. I didn't necessarily worry too much about the marketing flyers that I printed out. I mean, it was just all about going door to door and making human connections, talking with other people and just simply asking to exchange a service with them, which in this case was to do these car detailing. So here I am in middle school, and while all my friends are, going out skateboarding or playing sports or doing whatever after school, here I am knocking door to door to try to get people, my neighbors, to sign up on my car washing business. My stepfather actually wouldn't allow me in the house until I got 10 new clients for the weekend. So I'd literally just go out every day, like after middle school, whole day middle school, like had to go for like a few hours, knocking on people's doors until I booked my weekend full of appointments. And that business lasted for about 5 years. And, I hired my brothers, my friends. I got published in local magazines. I mean, it grew pretty quickly and it lasted for a little while. And then I went to college. I went to Florida State University, got 3 degrees, got into a corporate job. I moved out to Denver, Colorado, which is where I am now. And I started off as a sales rep for Trulia.com, which is one of the fastest growing real estate search engines out there right now. They get millions of hits a month going on here for anyone that's familiar, who's ever looked for a home in the United States. It's a big website. So I was doing sales for them, and within 6 months, I was the fastest person to be promoted to a position called team captain, where I was training sales reps and teaching them how to sell and leading my team. And that's when I started getting my entrepreneurial itch again and just saying to myself, well, this is a good job. I'm making good money, but I'm not pursuing my passion. I'm not creating my own businesses. I'm not out there being the business owner that I really wanted to be. And I learned at a very young age. So yeah. So I would join all these forums and blogs and, similar things to like your blog, Break the System, where there's all these guys out there traveling the world, starting these internet businesses, and it really intrigued me. And so I joined all these communities, even signed up for a couple organizations, and that's when I started networking with web designers, SEO guys, people that could do internet marketing. And here I am in my corporate job, selling internet marketing, services, advertising to real estate agents. And I remember one week where these real estate agents were just telling me, hey, I'd rather have my own website. What you're trying to sell me sounds great, David, but much rather have a website and some, get to the first page of Google. And here I am for the last 6 months. I've been networking. I've been building this like my own online business. I just never sold a client, and it just clicked. Well, why don't I just try to sell these real estate agents? So long story short, I took a leap of absence. I got my first 2 clients, these big website projects. I got into the internet marketing world, where, I still do web design and copywriting and all that. But the more and more I dived into it, the more and more I realized a lot of these guys need help with sales. And that's where I can really contribute. That's where I really thrive. That's where I can really change a business. My passion, my drive, my purpose is to help other business owners grow. So the best way for me to do that is to simply teach a business owner how to sell, how to build their sales process, and then how to scale their team. So that's kind of where I am now, where I've started this awesome website, nitrosalesteam.com, and I can help as many business owners that come my way, change the way they do business and change the way they get revenue.
That's awesome. And I think that's definitely a unique offer in the sense that nowadays a lot of people, actually, you've kind of gone old school in a way, I think, because many people nowadays focus on optimize your Facebook ad conversion or learn to do copywriting, or there's a handful of things that are very common. But actually, I don't know very many other people who are sales consultants or who work on the process of actually selling people or companies on things. So I think you're very unique in that respect. And it also sounds like you're a bit of a natural born leader and entrepreneur since you've done it from such an early age.
Yeah. I've kind of learned at a young age. I was taught by my stepfather, who was an entrepreneur, my father, who's a chiropractor, but has run many chiropractic practices before. So I was always taught at a young age to just build your own thing, be your own boss, and help your community, build your network, all those great things you do as an entrepreneur. So yeah, I definitely try to bring the old school sense of, the wheel was never broken. Sales still works to this day. And if you can combine it with all the new sexy, digital marketing techniques we have today, you can have a pretty deadly process where you have the high tech and the high touch. High tech is the high technology. You're using the latest ways to just get leads or grow your business. And then the high touch, where you're still touching people's lives and making those one-on-one calls, making those one-on-one connections that people genuinely value.
Yeah, and I think you just really hit on something really important, which is a lot of people kind of hit on this and think about this and talk about this, but not in that direct manner. And they talk about how you can create a product business, and maybe that's really ideal, that's really scalable. But if you're selling something through an e-commerce website or whatever, it's oftentimes very low touch. You have people coming in through like Facebook ads or Google organically or what have you, and it's very low touch. And a lot of people struggle with those kinds of things. But as soon as you get into the realm of actually getting customers or potential customers on the phone, and you're trying to sell them on the phone, it becomes so much easiasier. But it's something a lot of people, I think, avoid because it's kind of awkward. But it's actually something I try to recommend to people as well, even though I'm kind of more of the online course side of things. But I still say, hey, you should get people who are going to join your courses on the phone, because while you build the systems to do that automatically in a low touch fashion, you should do the quick wins to get started in the high touch fashion, at least first, because it's so much easier once you get somebody on the phone.
Yeah, it was funny, right before this interview, we were on a call before, and I was asking you how things were going, and you were telling me, oh yeah, I actually got some people on the phone. And it's one thing to put a limited time off or put some type of copywriting to get people to create urgency, but it's like, hey, when I'm on the phone, I had such an easier process. Like, it was just so much easier to just communicate that and like feel someone else's emotions and feel what they're really thinking, sensing their hesitations, and to be able to talk someone through the process and gain trust. I think you can gain a lot more trust if you can just get someone on the phone or meet them in person.
And you learn a lot too. Like what I was telling you was, I had the sort of low touch systems in place to make sales, and they were working, but I wanted to sort of take that to the next level. And so having those call follow-ups worked really well. But the way the calls worked, which I was telling you earlier, is literally it was people raising a couple of objections that they had in the back of their head that was making them hesitate. And as soon as they brought those up, and then we talked about them in a very frank and honest fashion, they were like, oh, okay, cool. Now I feel good about it. Let me sign up now. And so that's something that, now I just learned exactly what their objections are. I can maybe try and include that in the next low touch sales system. So the next sales funnel I create or what have you, the next round of copywriting I do, I can actually include those objections because I just learned a lot because I talked to the person, face to face.
Exactly.
So You mentioned when you were in your corporate job, it was cool, you're making money, et cetera, but you weren't following your passion. And so I'm curious, this sort of begs the question, so what is your passion? And so how were you not meeting that before, and how are you meeting that now?
I think your passion, your purpose is always changing. It's evolving. Right now, currently, what mine is to use my passion and to use my drive to help other people grow, to inspire others, and to live life every single day to the fullest. So for me, you think about when you're starting a business, who are the type of people you really want to help? And for me, when I really think about it, people that I absolutely love working with are other business owners. For me, entrepreneurship was always such a big identity for me. Being a business owner, I just really identified with that. And I think if anyone bets on themselves, anyone has the courage, to not work for the man, provide their own job, try to change the world in their own way and add value, I think they deserve to do well. Especially for the guy or girl who's really trying, they're really pushing. So I want to be that fire, like that passion, that drive that pushes people. That's why I went with the word nitro, is because I want to be a boost for someone's business. So for me, being in that corporate job, I wasn't as clear on my purpose at the time, but all I did know was I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to create my own, my own schedule. I just like the fact of entrepreneurship, the risk it takes, the fact that you have to wear a lot of hats, it's very technical. Then you got to lead people once you're ready to grow a team. There's just so many things that I love about it. It's just something I've always identified myself since a little kid, and being in this corporate job, it was eating me alive. Even though it was a great job, I wasn't following that passion of changing the world, adding value to the world through entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you just said, because that's something that resonates with me a lot as well, and something that I believe for myself as well. And actually, just to talk about one quick component of what you just said, which is if you have like a corporate job, oftentimes it's such a narrow channel that you operate within. Like you do one very specific thing, but then as soon as you try and start your own thing or become an entrepreneur, like you said, you wear lots of hats, which, at times is very stressful and overwhelming and kind of sucks. But at the end of the day, it's kind of awesome because it forces you to grow in like 10 different ways at once and learn all kinds of stuff. And you're not just doing one narrow, clear-cut, straightforward thing at all times for 40 years straight. That would drive me crazy personally.
Exactly.
Nice. So I'm curious, are you mostly, I guess, B2B2B? Because like you help businesses that are B2B, or do you work with businesses that sell directly to customers, or how does
I
that
do
look?
work with some B2C, but I primarily B2B, usually higher price points, because you can do the low touch thing if you have these really, cheap products or things that are, you could sell, and you don't need a big sell, right? You're like, let's just say you start an e-commerce store and, you're selling something that people just need right away, like basketballs or something. They know they need it. You don't need to get on the phone to sell basketball. It's like $20, versus, I'm helping people that are trying to come up with, something that costs multiple thousands of dollars, right? Or even monthly, it's multiple thousands of dollars, where you're selling, real services to other businesses. You're doing business services, or some type of product that requires a little bit more consulting. It requires a little bit more one-on-one with the person. But, I can help, basically any type of business that does need to sell, right? Which are all types of businesses.
Nice. Yeah. And so I'm curious, I figured you probably focus on helping B2B because just the price point naturally is much higher. But I'm curious if the process changes at all, if it's B2B or B2C, because from my mind, I'm thinking about like if I help somebody with build an internet marketing course. And then if I help somebody build like a fitness course, well, like they target totally different, like one is a B2B course, one's a B2C course. And so I'm curious how that analogy works for you. Like, do you actually have to help B2C and B2C companies differently?
Yes, usually it's within the marketing, right? So whatever your business is, right? You need to focus on who you want to help. And then what is the result you want to give that person? So you think who you want to help, that perfect client, that perfect customer, describe them in detail, and then think about the result that you want to give that person, right? Not necessarily the product or service, but what kind of result you want to give that person. So the difference with B2B, when it's B2B, you're focusing on businesses. So the way you find business owners, right? Or, let's say you're starting an internet marketing company and you need to get a hold of the business owners or the marketing directors, or you're just going to find them in different places, such as, maybe you do a LinkedIn campaign, or you join a local chamber of commerce, or you find a forum with tons of business owners, whatever it is, there's a way to find those people, and you got to bait them and get them interested on your consultations and then put them down your sales funnel. B2C, the only difference really is who you're trying to help. So if you're a fitness person and you're trying to sell some type of, fitness training, and your niche is, men between, the ages, let's say in their 20s, and you're going for the, body lifting type where you're trying to bulk people up and you're very specific, and that's where all your photos and your campaigns and all that, or you're going to have to find those people in a different area. I think that's the biggest thing is how you're getting your leads. Where you're finding your people that congregate is going to be the biggest difference between, B2B and B2C.
Yeah, nice. So it sounds like maybe the principles are the same of like prospecting, lead qualification, and then like the pitch or whatever, but the actual way that turns into reality, like the particular way you go about that overarching process is different for different companies. Is that accurate?
Yeah. And the other thing to consider is when you're doing B2B, you're talking to a business owner. You're not just trying to sell them, like versus B2C, like let's say a fitness program. You're like, okay, why do you want to get fit? Like what are the deep core reasons? Like how will this really improve your life? Like that's the type of conversation you're going to have. And then you're going to talk about the results. Like, oh, this guy lost 20 pounds and now he's super ripped and he's getting all these girls now and he's dating and, he's more confident, and this is the type of conversation you have versus a business owner. When it's B2B, you need to keep in mind with the company, does this guy have, 1 to 5 employees, or does he have a bunch of employees? Is he trying to grow his business? Will this really benefit the business? You're really trying to benefit the business. And then you do talk to the business owner too, like, why do you want to increase your revenue? Why do you want to do this? Why do you have these certain goals? But you also tie it down with the business. There's another factor to consider while you're selling. But as far as the basic fundamentals of sell, triggering basic human needs, really tapping into emotions, asking engaging questions, listening more and talking less, and really letting that person you're trying to sell. Yeah, all of those fundamentals when it comes to sales, those are essentially all the same.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm a big fan of high-level principles that are sort of like eternal in all situations. And like just application, of course, is different in each situation. But yes. Yeah, so actually, let's dive into that a little bit. What would you say is the overarching process? Like, if there's like, I guess, 3 steps to selling either a company or a customer on something, or I don't know how many steps, 3 steps, 5 steps, whatever. What is the overarching principles, the overarching process behind that?
So if it's a business specifically, right, what the process I usually put business owners through is a 3-step process, right? Number 1, learn sales. Just learn the basic fundamentals, like what it takes to sell, whether that's building rapport, asking the right questions, finding...
Can we dive in there? Like, so what do you think are the most important sales funnel fundamentals?
So when it comes to the actual sales, like when are you saying when you're actually talking to someone on the phone, or...
Well, no, so you're saying, step 1 is learn the sales fundamentals. So what would you say those are? What are the most important sales fundamentals to start with?
Okay, so here's a few key points, right? One is to realize that everyone is tuned into one station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? Everyone's wearing a sign that says, make me feel special. Everyone, like 99% of the time, they're thinking about their problems, their life, like their survival. And you need to really tap into that. So in sales, one of the basic principles is you got to ask engaging questions. You got to tap in to their station, which is WIIFM. What's in it for me? So how do you do that? Ask open-ended questions. Ask questions that gets that person to open up. So if you're trying to reach out to a business, for example, and you're selling, some type of internet marketing package. Let's say you're selling SEO and websites, right? And you help businesses increase their sales. You would want to ask the prospect, the business owner, questions like, well, why did you start your business? Why are you passionate about what you're doing? What are your goals this year? Why do you want to achieve those goals? How much more revenue do you want to see a month? How many more customers do you want to see a month? So what you're doing is you're just getting this person to talk and open up. And when you get a prospect to talk, when you get someone else to really share their story, their feelings, their emotions, what they really need, you start to get pain points. And when you can find pain points, something that keeps a person up at night, something that just drives them crazy, or something that they want to solve, well, now what you've just done is you've discovered why they're out in the middle of the ocean, and you can literally throw out your lifesaver and rail them back in, right? And get them on that boat. And when you can perceive that kind of value, when you can show that kind of value and get someone to rail them in a boat, they'll pay anything for it, right? If you can really tap into that emotional level. So sales is all emotions. That's another point, is sales is emotions. People buy not from the technical aspects, like what exactly you're trying to do. People buy from the same part of their brain when they think about stories, when they can really relate to someone, when they can share the emotions, when you can kind of take them up and down the roller coaster a little bit and show them the true value of what you have to offer and how it will benefit their life. So sales to me is being able to properly communicate your value to another individual.
Nice. That's a very tweetable quote. Properly communicate your value to other people. I like that. So just to quickly recap on sort of the highlights of what you were just saying, because I think it's really important. So when you're getting businesses started with sales, you encourage them to learn the fundamentals of sales, to ask open questions to their clients once they get them on the phone, because this reveals their pain points and their needs, which allows you to directly offer them solutions and show your value with respect to the pain points and their specific needs. So it resonates with them. And also to focus on the stories behind their needs and also the solution, because you're saying that people buy not from the mathematical rational part of the brain, but oftentimes more from the emotional part of the brain. So focusing on the stories helps to elucidate that. And also, at the end of the day, sales is about properly communicating your value to other people. I really like that quote. So is this a good recap of the highlights of what you just went through?
You summed it up perfectly.
Sweet. Yeah. Sorry, just I wanted to put it in order, so people, if they want to write it down, they can just write down those bullet points to draw out the highlights. And so once somebody does this, they've got them on the phone, they've pulled out their pain points, they're asking all these questions, they're starting to demonstrate their value. I know a lot of the advice you go through focuses on how to actually close people. How do you actually get somebody to buy? So once they recognize their pain point and they start to realize there's a solution to that, how do you actually close the person? And so I'm curious what your advice there is.
Yeah. So, really depends where you're on the call, right? But usually you just need to ask for the sale. You need to qualify the person. You need to make sure that they can afford what you have. You need to make sure that they actually have a need and interest. Like, you've done your job in properly communicating that value. You've opened them up. They've told you their pain. They're like, oh man, I can't, for example, going back to that example of a business owner, right? Where you're selling to a business owner and he's talking about, oh man, I would love to have 10 new customers a month, because if I get 10 new customers a month, now I can expand my business, I can hire more people, and then I get more free time to spend time with my family and go travel the world. Me, my wife, and my kids, we've been talking about going to Spain next summer. So I think this is my goal. This is what I really want to do. And then you, as the salesperson, as the business owner who has the solution, well, you can cast that lifesaver out and say, well, look, what I have will help you increase your sales. It's in these show statistics and all this other great stuff, but say, hey, look, these, don't just take it from the stats. Don't take it from everything I'm saying. These are testimonials that I have. These are the results I can give you. I don't see a reason why doing this won't benefit your business. And what you're doing is now you're having this conversation, you're properly communicating that value. And once you find that interest, once you gain their trust, then you want to talk about budget. Can they afford this, right? Just straight up, just ask them or just tell them what the price is, right? Or what I like to do a lot is I like to get people so interested, so just passionate and truly understanding what I'm trying to sell them, that they just finally ask me what the price is. They finally just say, David, what's the price? And then once I bring up price, that's when we're having an actual close, or we're asking for the sale. You also need to make sure that they are the decision maker, that they don't sit there and tell you, oh, I need to talk to my wife, or I need to talk to my business partner or someone else. You want to make sure that they can make the decision. And then you also want to make sure that there's some type of urgency, that maybe they're interested, maybe they can make the decision, maybe they even have the budget, but are they in a rush to buy that product? You need to create some type of urgency by offering some type of discount, or saying that it's a limited time offer, or that this is the only time that they can do this deal. You need an answer right away. And then that's when you're now going for a close. Now, if anyone says anything less than, I'm ready to do it, then what you're going to get is a objection, right? You're going to get someone that tells you, oh, I don't have the budget. Well, when someone says they don't have the budget on you, is they just don't see the value. In sales, if you can properly communicate that value and show them that what you're selling is way worth it, way more valuable than their dollar, that dollar amount, that's when you get a sale. That's when you get someone ready to buy what you're trying to offer them.
Man, that's awesome. I think that's a really valuable perspective about how to close people. And that's maybe it's difficult to get people on the phone. Maybe it's kind of awkward, but I think maybe that's where probably most people struggle the most, which is how to actually ask for the sale and actually convince people to hand over money for something you're offering. Because I think, especially for people getting started, probably one of the most uncomfortable things, because it's like, hey, give me $1,000 in order so I can do this. Like, it's just a kind of an awkward thing that I think a lot of people have mental hangups about. But I liked.
It's the most place where I see people where they freeze up. I mean, I consult a lot of business owners, and I'll even do role play calls with them where I tell them to pitch me, and they pitch me, and they're doing really good. I mean, they're talkative, they're building rapport, they're keeping things, they're really relating to me and asking great questions. And then when it comes down to price, they start to stumble, or they just don't know how to just simply say the price and then ask for the sale.
Yeah.
It's a mental block.
So true. And I can empathize with that difficulty, right? Like, so if anybody's listening and they have that difficulty, I think it's something we all experience, and it's kind of just something to get through. Like, it's kind of an awkward thing, but once you do it a few times, it becomes much, much easier. And I think
you need the repetition. You need to keep doing it, and then eventually it gets easier. I'm at a point where I can spit a price, and it just doesn't, it's rare that I'll ever kind of feel any type of anxiety or anything. Like, the way I view it now is, if I'm talking to someone and I'm offering a price, I mean, they're benefiting from the conversation. They're benefiting from what I'm trying to offer. So it's much easier to just spit out the price and ask confidently. You need to build that confidence. You need to truly believe in what you're trying to sell. If there's any hesitation in your voice, they're going to pick it up. And if you have any hesitation on what you're trying to sell, quit. Don't sell that product anymore, or change it, or like, why are you even trying to sell that? You need to truly believe in what you're offering.
Yeah, I think you hit on it, because I mean, if you're not confident in your product or your offer or your price, then of course you're the one trying to convince them. And if you're not even confident about it, how are you supposed to convince them and make them confident about it? But
exactly, they'll pick up on it.
Yeah, and I think what you said is really, really valuable, which is even just the perspective that in business, when you're selling something, the concept is, this person is going to pay you some amount of money, say $500, but they're going to receive some amount of value, which is objectively, or I guess subjectively, larger than what they're paying for it. And so having that perspective that, like, in a way, you're doing them a favor because you're giving them an opportunity to receive more value than what they're actually paying, because that's how businesses are structured, right? That's how economies grow over time, is that there's actually a net gain on both sides. And so I think
exactly win-win situations, creating those win-win situations.
And that perspective makes it so much easier to ask for the sale, I think, because if you view it as, I'm just asking this person for money, then it's almost like a begging kind of thing versus I'm providing this person a valuable good or service.
You got it. You hit the nail on the head, Grant.
So I also read your guest post, I guess it was about a month ago now, on Location Rebel, and there was one part of it that I really, really loved and I thought was really, really interesting. And I've actually said it to a couple people since I read it, so I hope your statistic was right on this, because I've repeated it a couple times. You were talking about follow-ups to offers. So if you offer somebody some price point or something, and if you don't follow up, versus if you follow up one time versus if you follow up 2 times, et cetera, and you were talking about the percentage of sales that are made, I believe it was after the 4th follow-up, versus the percentage of people who actually follow up 4 or more times. And I'm going to try and remember the numbers, but I believe it was something.
Oh, I remember it.
Okay,
yeah,
there you go.
Tell you.
Yeah, you go over it. I think it was
it was a study done, and I found it on the book Success Principles by Jack Canfield. And it's basically the 60% of sales are made after the 4th call. The problem is 94% of salespeople, pretty much the majority of all salespeople, do not try to attempt for that 4th call. So you literally have 94% of salespeople, in other words, not attempting to get the majority of the sales. Over half the sales are made after the fourth call. So the point of that is to follow up. I mean, if just because someone blows you off on a meeting, or just because they don't return your call, and you just try to reach out to them once or twice or even 3 times, and you just decide to give up, well, you're most likely missing out on that sale, because the majority of them come after the fourth, and then a good percentage still come after the fifth, sixth, and seventh call. You should be continuously reaching out and being persistent, and that's another big part of sales. Is you need to be driven, you need to be persistent, you need to be relentless, and continuously reach out to that prospect that could become a potential client.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating about that is if you just think about, if you're in that minority of 4% or 6% or what have you, and you're the one, you're in that small minority making those follow-up calls, then you have this access to this large market of buyers that now is very, very low competition. And what's really interesting is when I was reading that, I was thinking about the 80-20 rule and how that actually fits so well, even just the numbers themselves. Like if you go 80% of 80%, it's I believe it's 64. And if you go 20% of 20%, it's 4, right? So like it's crazy how much that aligns with if you're the 20% of the 20% of salespeople or business owners who go after that 4 or more follow-ups, you'll get that large majority of the most valuable clients purely because you're in the minority in an extremely valuable way. So yeah, that just blew my mind when I read that. So thanks for sharing that in that post.
Yeah, and that's a good point. It's like a sales hack, right? It's one small little tweak that doesn't take that much more effort. I mean, how many times have you sent an email out, right, and just never got a response, whether it was a sale or trying to book a meeting or some type of networking thing, whatever it is, you're asking someone of something and they just didn't respond. Well, what I do is I always just reply back to that same email, same thread, and just say, hey, did you get my email? And I always get a response by that second one. And I guarantee you, if they didn't send it by that second one, if they didn't reply by that second one, which rarely happens, I'm sending a third, a fourth, fifth, sixth. I'll send 7 emails. I don't care until that person. I mean, I was just, for example, I have launching my podcast as well, Nitro Sales Team. And I really wanted to get this sales consultant that had a lot of experience in the sales game. And I really wanted to get him in. And I literally emailed his assistant 3 or 4 times. I even texted him, and just finally she got back to me and was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I've been busy. I just missed this. And I just really wanted to have him on the show. And then I ended up getting him on the show. Right. So I think you can use that aspect with that principle with anything, right? Like not just sales, but like just being persistent and asking out of people, because people, I get it. Like people are busy, or they're lazy, or they just have other things in their mind, and it's not the first thing they're thinking about. But if you're able to continuously reach out to someone, and you're not just trying to take from them, you're trying to offer them something, you're trying to give value to their life, they're going to look at that and they'll commend you for that. They'll be excited. They'll be happy. The fact that you're so persistent. People like to work with other people that are working hard and are really trying. So that says a lot about a personality, if you can just do that one small tweak in the way you do your business, do your sales.
Yeah, I just want to stop for a second and focus on that very last thing that you said, because I know a lot of people, you might be listening right now and you might be thinking, well, I don't want to bug people. I don't want to bug prospective clients. I don't want to bug prospective business partners. But that's actually I don't think I've ever had somebody respond to follow-ups with a stop annoying me kind of fashion.
Never.
People thank you. They literally they say thank you for following up. I really appreciate it every single time.
Yeah, and if you think you're being a burden, that means you don't believe in what you're trying to sell. You don't believe in your product, and you need to change that. You need to either quit or change your mentality. But when I'm on a call, when I'm emailing someone, when I'm reaching out to someone, and I feel that I don't have that feeling. I don't have the feeling like I'm a burden. Like I feel like, hey, I'm like trying to help you out. Like I'm trying to offer something. You should be honored to be talking to me. That's my mentality. And I think if more business owners had that mentality and they're really trying to add value to someone's life, it's going to go a long way.
Yeah, just adopt a superiority complex and you'll be all good. You'll be making tons of sales.
No, it's a lot of it is all confidence, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's like if you're not confident about your product, your offer, your side of things, how are you going to make the client on their side of things confident. It's you got to be confident for them. It's got to spread to them. You can't be spreading the nervousness.
Yes. The worst thing you can do before a call or meeting or any type of sales is to be nervous, is to be freaking out, to not trust in yourself. You need to bet on yourself. You need to trust on yourself. You need to build your confidence. You need to believe in what you're really trying to do.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about that. I know you have sort of an unconventional suggestion for sales call prep. Like it's very not what I would expect. And so would you share that?
Yeah. So usually for like right before a call, people always ask, how do I prepare for a sales call? Well, I think it's good to prepare like the day before, the morning of, right? And really do your research. Do what you got to do to prepare yourself for the call, do role play calls. But when it comes to like right before the call, I always recommend to under prepare, not over prepare. The worst thing you can do before a call is over prepare, get nervous, think too much about the technical difficulties, be like, oh man, what am I going to say on this call? Like, how am I going to, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So one quick tip is to just get your endorphins rushing through your head, whether that's doing some jumping jacks, going on a run, just standing up. I like to stand up a lot on my sales calls, is to get excited, right? You want to get enthusiasm. My personal favorite is to literally just blast music, like whether I have my headphones in or I'm in my office downtown Denver. I have subwoofers that I hook up to my computer and I'm just blasting some type of loud music, whether it's like rap or electronic or just something that pumps me up. I just feel the bass. And then right when the prospect answers, I just shut off the music and then I just dive in, and they can hear it in your voice. It's not what you say it's how you say it. And excitement and enthusiasm is contagious. So if you can spread that, that's how you really tap into a good call. You get them excited. You go for a sale. You tap into those emotions.
And if you want to learn a bit about effective communication in terms of diction and effective pauses and just the complete effective verbal style, just listen to David speaking now, because you're really good at that, about having a very clear, effective voice that's like, it really captures attention. I've noticed that every time we've talked is that when you speak, it's very clear. It's a very good pacing. I don't know, you're a very good speaker. So I commend you for that.
Yeah, thank you. The only secret I have to that is just practice. I mean, I took note of it when I was at a sales job and we had to listen to ourselves, right? We literally had to, all of our calls were recorded and we would, just go over them and help each other out on our calls. And I had some great managers and some great team members that gave me the feedback. So I think if anyone can record their calls and then just listen to them, that's when you can really look and say, okay, well, this is what I can do better. This is where I can improve. But yeah, you want to reduce those ums. You want to not talk too fast, like go a million miles per hour. And you don't want to talk too slow. It's just finding your groove. How can you really speak properly and resonate with other people?
Yeah, man, I know that's something I should probably do, but I'm kind of almost afraid to go back and listen to myself, because I know it's one of those things where everybody like hates hearing their own voice, and I already know I speak too fast and slur my words sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. It's
my challenge to you, Grant, would be listen back to those recordings and just do it. But I'm afraid what's gonna happen. I mean, that's the only way to learn, right? It's as an entrepreneur,
right?
Grant. Yeah, breaking those comfort zones. Like, I know it's uncomfortable at first, but sooner or later you'll be able to listen to your voice all the time and get excited about it and just get comfortable with it. And it's something you don't even think about. So yeah, my challenge to you, Grant, is just go back, listen to it, break that uncomfortability, and you'll be able to dramatically change the way you speak, whether it's, public or podcast or sales or whatever.
Yeah, man, and I appreciate the the kick in the pants to do that. maybe I'll go from being afraid of hearing my voice to being like, ooh, that's sexy, that's nice.
Oh, that's exactly what happened. Yeah, you'll continue. It's like anything else. I noticed something on Facebook. You're trying to learn like salsa or some type of dancing or something like that.
Yeah, well, I've been in salsa dancing for a while, but yeah.
How do you like watching yourself on the video?
Actually, I'm good enough that like I actually enjoy that. But at first, I'm sure it would have been horrible.
Because I've seen it. No, I've seen those videos you posted, and it was really cool. You were like, it was really like professional looking, and I'm sure when you look at it, you're not so down on yourself. You're like, that's not bad, Maybe you think of little things to tweak, but it's the same thing when you're thinking about listening to your recorded voice. Hey, these are things I can improve, and then next thing you know, it becomes actually pretty fun. You enjoy it. You get comfortable with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's just about anything. You got to be uncomfortable in order to grow, right?
Yes, exactly.
So you are the sales guy, the sales consultant. People come to you and oftentimes pay a pretty penny to learn from you, to consult with you. I'm curious how you got into this position where you are now the sales expert, and there's people who are probably twice your age and like 40 years of industry experience, blah, 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 who come to you, little youngin with inspiration, ambition, and sales experience, and they come to you and they ask your advice, and you're the expert, you're the industry person to go to. How did you get into that position? How did you position yourself as an authority?
That's a really good question. Where did I start? You're basically asking, or how did I get to here? For me, it was, sales has always been an experience of mine, going from starting my car washing business, going door to door, selling little things here and there. I've always started these little part-time businesses, and then going into corporate and learning sales, becoming a team captain. It excited me. It excited me to really help business owners or sales reps or whoever, I helped. So for me, how I got this position, how I became good at consulting and helping business owners is I just did it for free. When I was starting my web design company, copywriting company, I do these projects. That's what kept me going. But I just had that knack of really wanting to coach people and consult people. So what I did is I created a So Helpful account, created a profile, and just offered people free 30-minute consultations. I said, whatever it is about sales or business development, just ask me. And I would do these free 30-minute calls, and now I have all these testimonials. And, I never really sold anyone on those calls, but what I did was I gained experience. I learned how to consult better. I learned people's pain points. I really learned how I can help people. So that's kind of how I got the calling experience, right, of consulting people. Where I got the best results and what really just blew me up and started defining me as a sales consultant and defining my company, Nitro Sales Team, was when I helped a business owner here locally in Denver. His name is Carlos. He owns a company, Blue Bamboo. It's a multimedia company. They're the creative home here in Denver. They help basically companies with web design, graphic design, videography, photography, social media, any of the creative stuff you really need to pump out as a business owner. They help you with that. So, when I first met him, he's making a couple $1,000 a month, maybe around $2,000 to $4,000, standard, okay pay here in America. But he wanted to take things to the next level, right? He just hit 40 years old. He was talking about possibly partnering up with other guys. He wasn't really sure the direction. And I remember sitting down with him. We were in his garage just talking about it. And I'm looking him in the eyes and I'm like, dude, you're almost 40 years old. It's now or never. I mean, you really need to set sail with your business. I think you should go 100%, take control of your business. Don't try to do a, partnership. He was trying to do partner with 5 people and do a 20% split with everyone. Just go 100% with your business. Let's come up with some strategies. So we dedicated an entire year. We said for this year, my focus is to take this company from $2,000 a month to $20,000 a month. I'm hearing all these masterminds. I'm have a lot of friends that are trying to be successful as well. And they're all coming up with all these different goals. I want to start a blog, or I want to start this YouTube series, or I want to do this. I'm I just want to do one thing. I want to help my friend go from $2,000 a month to $20,000 a month. Because once I can do that, I can use those same techniques that I did for him and apply that to other companies. I use the Napoleon Hill quote. Literally, the fastest, easiest way to succeed is to help others succeed. The fastest and quickest way to succeed is to help others succeed. So I took that quote to heart. And I said, if I can help my friend literally times 10 his monthly revenue, how can I not do that with another business? So we actually accomplished that goal within 6 months. It took us half the time. We tried all these different things. And what we found was if we could just get people on the phone and offer them a free consultation and educate them and then try to go for a close at the end, that's how we're getting a lot of deals. That's how we're getting these higher ticketed items. So we were able to increase his value, increase the price that he offered, right? And then also create a system where we were getting as many people on the phone to talk to. And now he's doing well. And ever since then, I got that testimonial. I got that case study. I got the results. I shared it with other business owners. They heard about it. And then they decided to hire me to do the same thing for them. So basically, I started off just doing what I loved for free. And I recommend that for a lot of business owners. The easiest way to break into a market is to literally just try to help some people, your perfect clients, and get those case studies, get those results first.
That's awesome, man. And I also recommend that specific tool, so helpful to a lot of people as well, for that purpose specifically, which is to have those free calls. Even if you don't sell somebody, you at least get a testimonial. And I think I've heard a lot of people who say that they've started out this way. They've started working for free or for cheap just to kind of break in, to build that experience, to have some kind of results to share with people. Because if you're just, it's always hardest, right, to get like your first client, because they're like, why should I hire you? And you're like, I don't know, because I read about this in a book or something. You know, you don't have any case studies, like you said,
proof or results. Yes, definitely.
So I'm curious, how many do you remember ballpark number of how many calls you had that were free, and like, did you actually get paid to help Blue Bamboo, or was that free as well?
So I'll get paid for Blue Bamboo if we got a sale, right? So when I say free, it was more like commission. So if we got a sale, I would get a percentage of the sale, and then he would also hire me to like help him build out a website or something, because I still had my web design and copywriting project, but now I delegate most of that work, right? Any website projects or copywriting, I might oversee some of it and get a little bit involved, but I outsource and delegate primarily most of that. So not only did I get a commission helping Blue Bamboo, but he also would hire me now to also build out the website, and then he just took his cut as well. And that's how we kind of grew together, right? So it wasn't like I was totally like doing all this work for free. I mean, I would get paid. So that's how I did that. As far as the So Helpful calls, man, I probably did around 20 to 30 calls totally free. And I had no idea what I was selling. I just knew I wanted to learn. So I just did all these calls. And I got a lot of testimonials from it, which was really helpful.
Was it so helpful?
It was so helpful. Yeah, it was so helpful.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, to people listening, like 20 to 30 calls, that is not a lot, honestly. I mean, I think you gave some numbers in previous discussions about how many people you had to call when you were in the sales corporate job, right? And like people talk about making like 50 or 100 calls in a day or whatever. And
I would do at least 80 calls a day.
Yeah,
easily.
Exactly. So
but that's not talking to people, right? That's like physical dials, maybe 80 calls, you get 1 out of 10 people to actually answer and you have a conversation, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's definitely, 20 to 30 really isn't that much. It was 20 to 30 people I actually really had a call with, like had a conversation, had that 30-minute consultation. Yeah. It might have been more than that, but I'm just counting the So Helpful ones that I can remember.
Yeah, no worries. And so, I mean, honestly, 20 to 30 is something you probably knock out in like a couple weeks or something. And then you're on your way to being that expert status with the testimonials and the experience. And then from there, it's high touch. It's quick. You can get into that position and start landing those big ticket clients relatively quickly. And I think that's something that your expertise relates to more than a lot of people, because it's very quick return on your investment in terms of having these kinds of sales calls. Because even if only 1 out of 10 people purchase your product, well, you can have 10 calls over the course of a day or two. And if you're making a sale of a high ticket item that's like $500 or $1,000 every other day, well, then you're making pretty good money. And so it's a good situation to be in.
Yeah. You want to be an expert in something, just do it. Like just exercise it. And then you'll become an expert at it. That's the fastest, quickest way to learn anything, is just to go out and do it. Put the books down, stop the Google searches, just get yourself out there. And even if you have to offer it for free to build up your portfolio or your case studies or just proof of results, just go out and do it. It's that simple.
And wear some Nike shoes when you're on your calls.
So you got to wear the Nike shoes.
You can know to just do it. So I'm curious, what would you say to people who are kind of starting relatively from the beginning? They're trying to get into a similar position that you're in now, where you're this high-end consultant, you're kind of the expert in this industry, and they're trying to position themselves. Would you recommend just literally just hitting the calls and doing the free work? Is that literally the best way to start from scratch?
Well, if you're a business owner, right, the first thing I recommend that you do is you figure out your why and your what. Like really define why you're doing what you want to do. While most people focus on the how, like what your question was, like, how do I start getting more customers? How do I get myself out there? that's always going to evolve. That is always going to improve. You need to separate your why and your how. So what I would do is first recommend truly understand your passion. Best way to do that is just silence, like silence all the noise. I personally meditate, do guided meditations, whatever it takes to just silence the noise. Think about your visions. If you don't know what makes you happy, just think about or what you want. If you don't know what you want, just think about what makes you happy. It's a lot easier to just think of something. So for example, I could think of being like on the beach of South America, traveling and backpacking. Like that makes me happy. And that's why I pursue the internet marketing game, is because it gives you the luxury to travel. I can tie in all of these reasons with my why. My what is that I use my passion and drive to help other business owners grow. Now, my how is always going to change, whether that was copywriting, web design, sales consulting, coming up with a new program, a new ebook, doing some type of offer. That product, that service, that how is always going to change. So for someone first starting off, once you realize your why, your what, then start reaching out to people and offering that, right? So let's just say you want to start, coaching people in fitness. You love fitness. Your why is, I love being fit. I love being healthy. I love looking good. I love helping other people feel good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach people fitness. Now, how I'm going to do that, don't worry about that. That's always going to be changing. That's going to be evolving. Maybe you focus on how you're going to do it for that week, but throughout the year and then the next over years, it's going to improve. It's 100% going to be different than when you first started. So start reaching out to people start reaching to people in your network, right? If you don't have a big enough network, if you don't have a big enough friends group, you can always, and even after asking for referrals, you can just join a meetup. Join a local group, go to meetup.com and find some type of place where people that you can help congregate, where they meet up and you can offer your services, even if you have to do it for free. Just get yourself out there and just try to help the first people that you can. And then eventually you can start creating a price, and you can always increase that price. Just because you lock down a price doesn't mean you have to be married to it. You can continuously grow that price, change that price, whatever you have to do with that. But yeah, my biggest advice is just go get yourself out there.
And don't forget the Nike shoes.
Don't forget your Nike shoes.
So you're in a good position now in your life and your career. And when was a time where you felt like a failure on your way to this point in your life?
Oh man, so many times. So many times. If you don't have those failure moments, you're not pushing yourself. For me, it was just over a year ago. I was, here I'm starting this business. I quit my corporate job, which that was a couple years ago, and business was at first doing good. And I think I just teamed up with the wrong people. I didn't go the right direction with my business, and things just started to flounder. They started to fail. I just wasn't getting customers. The service I wasn't doing wasn't anywhere near I wanted it to be. And I ended up losing my apartment, getting a part-time job as a server. Here I am with 3 degrees, from Florida State University. I'm a business owner. I was working in corporate for a little bit, and now I'm working at a restaurant waiting tables and moving into my dad's basement in the living room. I didn't even have my own room. I literally just laid a mattress out. And it was just, man, you want to talk about just feeling like a failure. I was embarrassed. The girl I was dating at the time was like embarrassed for me, like just said, oh, like you said these like bad remarks about me being a server, like, oh man, I can't, and then just like not being able to hang out with my friends, not having the money to just do little social things, just feeling embarrassed, feeling like I failed. I remember at the time my mom saying, oh, you can always go back to corporate, you can make 6 figures next year, just to get back into the swing of things. And I just remember telling myself, no, that's not my purpose. Like I have a bigger purpose in this world, and that I know my calling. I know this is what I need to do. So yeah, that time, man, it sucked.
Yeah, I can see that, and honestly, it sounds. I went through my own period where I was like in my mom's basement as well. So I think we all kind of hit points like that in our life. Actually, my first ever online course I made was filmed out of my mom's basement, but you can't tell because I edited it pretty well. But it's actually still online and still selling, and it's funny because of the environment it was filmed in. But
I was couch surfing for a little while too. You got to do what you got to do, right? And for me, it was I just knew not go back to the corporate job, even though I'm dead broke right now. and I'm couch surfing, living in a basement, doing all this stuff. It's just like, you got to keep going.
Yeah, you got to put up with the hard times in order to achieve the good. There's a really good quote I like, and hopefully I haven't repeated this too many times ad nauseum, but it's entrepreneurs are those who are willing to do for a few years what most people won't, to live the rest of their life like most people can't. And I think it's a really great way of summarizing it. It's so true, because we all have to go through those hard phases, especially when you're living the unconventional script, right? I mean, I guess getting a corporate job in the short term is maybe more stable, but I think probably creating your own projects, your own business, doing things that you're passionate about, for sure pays off way more long term, but there might be a hardship in the short term, which you just have to power through.
Exactly.
So
I totally agree.
So how did you power through this failure of your own?
Just kept going. I remember I was doing the restaurant for a couple of months, and all of a sudden they shut down. They had to do a renovation. So here I am, I just got this job part-time, then it just stops. And I just kept doing what I was doing. I was helping Carlos with Blue Bamboo with his business. I was helping him get customers. And then all of a sudden, remember, I gave myself a week. I wasn't working. I said, okay, I'll give myself a week. If I could just get one more client, then I'll keep going. I'll keep going. If I don't get a client, then I'll look for another serving job. So I gave myself a week. I really just hit it hard when it came with, prospecting and getting sales. And we get this sales meeting. And I remember walking into this sales meeting. It was a local restaurant, who is now one of our biggest clients. But we walk in, and before we walked in, we're in the car, and I remember Carlos kind of be like, I have no idea if we'll even get a check today, or what to expect. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't think we would close them. We go in the meeting, hour and a half later, he gets all pumped up, excited. He trusts us, and he writes us a check right there and then he cuts me a down payment of like $1,500 right there on the spot. And that's when I was telling myself, okay, well, I'm going to keep going. And then ever since then, it just slowly got better and better. I got more projects left and right. Yeah, I hit a couple more bumps down on the road of not knowing where to get the next paycheck or the next client. But overall, that was my last moment where I had to depend on a part-time job or something else. And it's just been going uphill ever since.
Nice. And so it's interesting to hear about the turning point for you, but how long were you stuck in that rough place? Just to give people an idea.
So I had a lot of personal issues going on as well. I had a sick family member, and then this legality issue. I just got wrapped up in just a really horrible situation. So I think it was a little bit longer than most people should have been. But I think for like an ententire year, on top of that, I had braces. Like on top of all this stuff, like
what?
I lost,
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I just got them off, earlier this year. But yeah, last year I would say it was one of the worst years of my entire life. I mean, here I'm working part time as a server. I quit my corporate job, just living in a small little basement. I was couch surfing at certain times, just not knowing where my next payment would come in, my next money. But I just knew I had to keep following my passions. And on top of that, I had braces. So it was just super embarrassing and just painful. It just sucked. Here I was 25, 26, 25 going to 26 at the time. And it just, yeah. So for me, it was about a solid year, more or less, that just horrible turmoil. I was just, oh man, it was horrible. It's like Winston Churchill says, if you're going through hell, keep going. That was my motto.
Yeah, and I imagine having braces probably threw off some of your sales meetings when people are like, what? Why would I buy something from this kid?
I don't think it ever threw off the sales meetings. I think, fortunately, I'm always confident when it comes to business, but I think it was more the social circle, like going out and, hanging out with people, like just being whether it's talking to a girl or even trying to, talk to another guy, just anyone in general. I'm just, you kind of feel embarrassed. You feel like I felt like way younger than I was. And on top of that, it was painful too. They don't feel great. So just, yeah, just another thing on top of the other things I was dealing with during that year.
So, I mean, you should have come out to Asia because there are like 40-year-old women here who have braces. So it's actually not that abnormal. So, missed opportunity.
That's funny. Yep. I'll remember that next time.
Yeah. Next time you get braces. But it's interesting to hear about long periods of difficulty, and I think it's always very revealing because it's nice to hear about people that are interviewed or that are doing well in life, and it's like, oh, that's so cool. They have all these skills. They're an expert. Blah blah blah. But I really like to at least take a second to talk about those downswings because a really difficult year, that's really hard to get through, and I think everybody has to experience that. And I think on some level, everybody should expect that and accept it. And like you said, if you're in hell, keep going. And then you get through the other side, and then you end up in this place where you're in a really good situation, and you're kind of on the top of the world, but you were just on the total bottom, just before. And that's kind of just what it takes to do something awesome, I think.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. What are your current projects, and where are you trying to go over the next year to take things to the next level?
Yeah, right now, just growing Nitro sales team, really just scaling that up. I have a good team, people that are helping me grow that business, really helping business owners. My goal is to, by next year, to help 10,000 business owners through one of my programs, whether they're going through one of my boot camps, they're doing my one-on-one consulting, or they just join one of my membership programs. Whatever it is, I want to help as many business owners as I can, and I want to help them grow. And the way I can do that right now is through Nitro Sales Team.
Nice. Very awesome. And so where can people check out your stuff if they want to learn more about you and what you're working on?
Yeah, anyone that's listening right now and they've actually listened to this whole thing, I'll offer you something. I put a video on my website that will teach you how to qualify a lead in under 10 minutes. It's 4 questions, 4 things you have to bring up on every sales call. Otherwise, you are literally wasting your time on the phone if you don't go through these 4 qualifications. So I give you anyone that's listening right now, I'll give you a totally free video. Just go to nitrosalesteam.com/free. nitrosalesteam.com/free, and you can get the free video. It's under 10 minutes. It's going to dramatically change the way you do your calls or your meetings.
Nice. So everybody go to nitrosalesteam.com/free. Check out his free video and the other cool stuff he's up to. Hopefully you guys found lots of really information and golden nuggets in this call about sales, about how to grow your business, and even how to get through difficult moments and end up on the far side as an expert and in a good position in your business. And also even how to start from scratch. So thank you very much for joining me today, David. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Grant. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Hey, entrepreneurs and experts, I just wanted to thank you for listening to this episode. And I hope you learned at least one new big idea that helps you evolve your skills and gets you closer to monetizing your expertise and creating that successful knowledge business. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on iTunes and Stitcher, and check out myepodcast.com for all episodes as well as the tips and tricks mentioned in this episode. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.